Yo. Good afternoon, my good people. Thank you for checking me out today. I am your host, Mr. Flynn. This is the podcast, What You Should Know But Don't. Today's topic question, how come black folks don't trust each other? We're going to get into that in 1 second. Stay tuned, hold tight, be with you right after this intro. All right. So we're back at it again. Once again, good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate you being here with me. I am your host, Mr. Flynn. This is the podcast, What You Should Know But Don't. The topic question is, how come black folks don't trust each other? This is episode 4 of the mini-series. And definitely, I got to say, please forgive me for taking so long on this episode. I had a lot going on, so, I'm working, I'm hustling, I'm doing a lot of different things. And so my apologies for the delay. Sorry for this episode taking so long to put out, but I'm glad to be back at it again. So here we are. Now, you may say, come on, man, what's up? You know what I'm saying? This is a simple question, and there's a simple answer to it. Plain and simple, black folks don't trust each other because, we the ones hurting each other. We're our own worst enemies. And I wouldn't be surprised if somebody somewhere is in the background yelling about black on black crime in our communities right now. I ain't even going to get into that, Well, I like to believe this issue is deeper than that. You know what I'm saying? I think that this issue contains a psychological aspect that involves the pathology of blacks in America. What I mean is, I think to understand the topic question, you have to look back at our history as a people. I don't like to look at stuff, as a situation just as it is presently and make like a blanket judgment about what I think is the issue. To me, it's like walking into a movie halfway through but trying to predict the ending when I didn't even see how it started. So in order to understand really, why our trust levels are the way they are in our community, we got to look back. We got to examine the issue further. You know what I'm saying? So before we even walk through all of that, get into this episode, I want to clarify a few things before I give you my final answer. And first, let's define a few terms that I think will be helpful. All right. So we can get into this by looking at the main word of the day. You know what I'm saying? And that's trust. Trust is something that you strongly believe about a person or thing. Now this could be good or bad. Doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? A mentor of mine framed it like this. He says, trust is something, where you recognize and accept the consistent action of others. In other words, what you see a person or a thing do consistently is what you learn to expect from them. Let me give you an example. So, let's say I got a doctor's appointment. My doctor's appointment is at noon. I can't find nobody to take me. My car is down. The only thing I do is call my buddy Junebug. I know Junebug is notorious for being late for everything that he does, or every place that he goes to. So if I'm calling Junebug and I know I ain't got no other way but to trust him to get me there, then I ought to expect for Junebug to be late. Why? Because he's late to everything else that he goes to. And I've known this throughout his whole existence. He's always late getting to where he's going. So if I'm calling him and I'm dependent on him, I should expect that he's going to be late. So I could either give him an earlier time to get to me, or I expect him to be late and come after the time that I need him to. But you get where I'm going with this. That's like an example of recognizing and accepting the consistent action of others. Now, another word I think that's important to talk about is being trustworthy. All right. So trustworthy is basically, being reliable, being responsible, being safe, being secure and steady. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that shows these type of qualities is someone you can trust. If they don't show you these characteristics, and then they're the opposite, they're untrustworthy, and this is good to keep in mind when you're doing business with people, or, when you're like dating somebody or whatever the case may be. You're looking for trustworthy attributes, but if they show you that they're untrustworthy, red flag. You know what I'm saying? Be careful. Another word that's really important to keep in mind is distrust. And distrust is basically feeling like someone or something can't be relied upon. You doubt their honesty or their integrity. You know what I'm saying? They make you feel suspicious around them. You don't know what they're going to do or what they're capable of doing. If you have people like this in your life, or you're doing business with people like this, caution, red flag. You know what I'm saying? These are people that exhibit distrust, or they give you feelings of distrust. Now, part of distrust in others is often rooted in the belief that other people have like competitive intentions. You know what I'm saying? Which, like, if you already have low trust issues or don't really trust people at all, you know, that may lead you to act defensively or, you know, be competitive toward these type of people. So, you know what I'm saying? We're going to examine that further, but, you know, that's just something to keep in mind. All right. Now that we got these definitions out the way, let's, you know, look at our history a little bit here in America. So just off top, in America, we have trust issues. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to gender, you know, this country is extremely sexist. And despite sexism existing, you know, in our American culture, men and women would depend on each other more than they'll depend on people of different races. You know what I'm saying? Consider the fact that like U.S. households are far more likely to be different in terms of gender than race. You know, now, no matter how men may agree with each other, or no matter how many women may side with each other, at the end of the day, they're going to stand with their race over their gender bond. Think about that. You know what I'm saying? That's real. All right, let's consider race. You know, in the United States, you got survey research that consistently finds that people of color, and we talking about particularly black folks, report lower levels of trust than whites. You know what I'm saying? Blacks don't trust hardly anybody. And, you know, could you blame us? You know, from slavery, the Tuskegee experiments, Henrietta Lacks, Hurricane Katrina, housing projects, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. American society has given blacks plenty of reason to be skeptical of a lot of things that affect us. You know what I'm saying? There are differences in trust across, you know, even ethnicities here in this country. You know, and that runs across various racial contexts, including interpersonal relationships and interactions with the healthcare system or the criminal justice system. You know, culturally, you know, whites trust people to a certain degree. You know, Asians trust people to a certain degree. Hispanics trust people to a certain degree, and blacks trust people to a certain degree. But culturally, each of these degrees are different from the other. You know what I'm saying? Trust issues between blacks and whites are, you know, they're a contributing factor to other differences between our races, including inequality and blacks' low level of like civic engagement and political participation. We don't mess with it because we don't trust it. You know what I'm saying? Blacks and other people of color face regular discrimination. You know what I'm saying? Although public attention is focused on the shocking nature of these accounts, when they're caught on tape and the public shame of white perpetrators, rarely does anybody consider how these experiences ultimately affect the victim's outlook on humanity. In other words, the murder of George Floyd and others like it doesn't strengthen our confidence in America as black people. You know what I'm saying? It makes us feel, you know, a certain type of way, even more so, you know, about how America feels about us, you know. Brief history lesson, you know, Africans participated in the slave trade for the same reasons that Europeans did. They thought they could profit off of it, and they did. You know what I'm saying? Africans didn't start or control the slave trade, but we did participate in it. You know what I'm saying? Look how that worked out for black folks all over the world, you know? Sounds like the drug and gun market that affects our communities today. We didn't start it or control it, but we participate in it. But I digress. You know, that's a different issue. We'll get into that another time, you know. But in America, you know what I'm saying, you had slaves who would compromise their integrity, morality, authenticity, or principles by giving up long-term benefits of black unity in exchange for short-term personal gains, you know, such as money or power. You know, this has happened in almost every progressive black movement that began in our community and still exists to this day. You know what I'm saying? We got Uncle Toms in our community right now, but it's like nobody talks about selling out anymore because selling out is an acceptable practice nowadays. You know, to most people in America, it's all about getting paid by any means necessary. So somehow, some way, somewhere, some sellout crab in a bucket type character pops up and derails any forward movement that we may work on in our communities. Or, you know, we can't get together because of competitive nature, you know, this whole you against me, me against you thing, and, you know, just fighting at each other. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we have these conversations amongst ourselves, you know, where we point out how every other race race or ethnic group works together with their own people but us. Yet, collectively, we won't take that step together because somebody in our circle is going to, come around and mess it up for everybody. We know we need to work together, but we have people who want to do their own thing, and this cycle keeps, tripping us up every time. You know what I'm saying? More times than not, it seems like it's us hurting us. You know what I'm saying? It's blacks that abuse, shoot, deal drugs to, kill, steal from, mistreat, won't support, won't unify with, stay away from, don't want to know, and are afraid of other black people. You know what I'm saying? We know that there's some in white society that think less of us. However, we also have members of our own community who think less of us too. So we getting it from both sides. You know what I'm saying? How can we win? The assumption that people of color don't deserve the capacity of full citizenship is what's behind things like suppressing the vote or restricting immigration or enforcing criminal laws through practices like stop and frisk. The establishment of race through law in the slavery era led to the development of race as an ideology, as a hierarchy, and as an understanding that blacks as a group of people are uniquely qualified to be degraded and enslaved. And the longer it takes us to work together, the more we'll be treated in this manner. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the facts. That's been going on for so long, and it's still going on. You know what I'm saying? So the other aspect about trust, we don't trust the government. There's a term that's called political trust, and that refers to people's sense of how well the government is performing according to their expectations. Now blacks' level of political trust, pretty much in any government, is low to non-existent because of how they treated us, how they moved, in the past. Research suggests that mistrust among blacks shows displeasure with the political system, and that's no secret. This research shows that mistrust amongst blacks is primarily a function of our level of racial group consciousness. You may say, well, what's group consciousness? Group consciousness is like, being like our awareness of differences between one's group and the dominant group in terms of power and resources, as well as the belief that inequality is unjust. You know what I'm saying? When we become more aware of our racial group status, we realize that a system that maintains racial inequality is responsible for our disadvantaged status. Now this is where white people will come in and be like, oh, they're blaming, you know what I'm saying? They're blame shifting, for their black failures, and they're putting it on the broader political and social system. But you know what I'm saying? That's their thing. This is, that's where they say we play the blame game. But blacks who see discrimination and inequality and are dissatisfied with black control in government and society, they're less trusting than those who see little discrimination. As a result, black distrust leads to more participation in protests, that's fueled by the desire for social and political change. That's why you see BLM out there and other groups out there. They're tired of the way things are done. They're tired of the way we're treated. We're tired of, this revolving system of oppression that keeps popping up in different ways, but it's not so, I don't want to so much talk about the outside forces as much as what's affecting us in-house. You know what I'm saying? They say change happens at the local level in government. Some studies indicate local empowerment is associated with a greater level of trust in local government. And I think this is important because it shows that trust is tied to an elected official who represents the characteristics of their community. This is why it's important to get the right people in office, but this is also tied to the conversation of blacks not voting, and we'll get into that. I'll say that for another episode. You know what I'm saying? So how come black folks don't trust each other? For me, I think there's two psychological aspects to consider when we're talking about the black community, and that's self-fulfilling prophecy and also classical conditioning. Far as self-fulfilling prophecy, this is like a prediction that comes true as a result of a person's belief that this prediction would come true. You know what I'm saying? This means that people's belief influence others' actions. The reason why I mentioned self-fulfilling prophecy is that we seem to speak a lot of negativity into our existence, and before you know it, that negativity is made manifest. If we as a community keep telling ourselves and our children negative things about black people, we make those things a reality. Hopefully you see how this affects us and where I'm going with this, right? All right. Now, classical conditioning, this is like a form of learning, you know what I'm saying, in which like a given signal becomes more and more effective in getting a specific response. So, for example, let's say you got a dog that you love, you know what I'm saying, and you take your dog out for a walk every day. After a while, when you show the dog its leash, it knows that it means it's time to go for a walk. You know what I'm saying? Now, this is whether you take them for a walk or not. Just seeing the leash makes them think that, this is what's about to happen. The dog is conditioned to think this way. So when you think about that, that same thing happens to us as people. Now, think about the things that we say to each other or that we've heard from each other. Things like, black people are lazy, or black preachers are pimps, or black men are deadbeat fathers, or black women are angry. Any place where there are a lot of young black people at, trouble always follows. You know what I'm saying? Black people are stupid. Black people, don't trust each other. Black men look scary. You know what I'm saying? We say these things over and over and over to each other, and we have to ask ourselves, are we making these things a reality? Are we making these things come true by, consistently repeating this to our children and to ourselves? You know what I'm saying? We look at black people and automatically think about violence, fear, distrust, poverty, and ignorance. Whether we've had these experiences with other black people or not, we've come to associate those things with our people. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's who we are, when in reality it's not. You know what I'm saying? Where did these thoughts come from? Did someone project these onto us? Did we come up with these negative thoughts about ourselves by ourselves? You know what I'm saying? Where did this all start? Where did it begin? And more so, how does it end? How do we fix it? So if you ask me how come black folks don't trust each other, it's because we've been conditioned not to. You know what I'm saying? From slavery to sellouts to what we keep telling ourselves in our communities today. Long time ago, a negative seed was planted and we keep watering it. You know what I'm saying? We keep this whole thing going. Lastly, what I want to leave you with is just the idea that words have power. You know what I'm saying? If you get what I'm saying, we've been speaking death to our people and into our community for a long time, for decades. And we see what that's gotten us, you know what I'm saying? But when will we get to the point where we start speaking life over ourselves and over our situations? If we want things to get better, we have to start trusting each other. There is no sort of relationship that exists without trust. Not a friendship, not a marriage, not a partnership, not a business relationship, not a family. Nothing exists without trust. We have to start trusting each other. You know what I'm saying? We have to speak it. We have to receive it. We have to trust it. We have to believe it, and that's the only way we're going to move ahead and feel and do better as a community. So I'm going to stop there. Once again, that's all I got. I thank you all for tuning in and listening to my thoughts and ideas about our people. I hope it helps you, gain a different perspective on us as a community. I don't believe all blacks are inherently evil people that are just out to kill, steal, and destroy. I do believe we have a few misguided folks in our community, that's been poisoned mentally and emotionally, and these people are not well. They need love. But I don't believe the vast majority of black people are like this. Matter of fact, forget that. I know we're not like this. You know what I'm saying? We can't give up on each other. We got to figure out how to come together and put pettiness, beef, and negative issues aside. We need each other. We will not make it individually. We have to work together collectively. You know what I'm saying? We see the results of what's going on in our community, and the way these things are happening, honestly, largely we're to blame, and we're to blame because we are not standing up now. Forget what was done to us before. Forget what was kind of set in motion, but we're in a position now where we can do something about it. We have more information. We have more technology. We have more resources. We have more access to stuff. We have each other, and we're not utilizing those things. We're not coming together. We're not capitalizing off our strengths and building. And all of that, again, starts with trust. If we don't trust each other, we can't get anywhere. So I'm going to stop. Please like and share this video through your social media accounts with your family and your friends, or with anybody else you think may benefit from something I said this afternoon. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more video content by yours truly, Mr. Flynn. That's all I got for now. Until next time, as always, peace, 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 and more peace. Love you all. I'll see you next time, all right?